People everywhere are starting to listen to him. He's going on French, British, Italian, Japanese television.
This is the Wide World of Weingarten.
Wide World of Weingarten, April 22nd. It's about 10 a.m. in Los Angeles. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. Crazy basketball game last night. I don't know if you were watching Memphis versus the Timberwolves, but Timberwolves were up 25 with about 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. Memphis closed the game on a 50-13 run. Yeah, I think the win probability for Minnesota was about 98.5% with a 25-point lead there, and Memphis came back and won. I had a little bit of money on Memphis. I do like betting the NBA playoffs. I just don't talk about it very much because my bets don't seem to be very good relative to the other stuff I bet. I mostly... and I admittedly am a recreational bettor when it comes to NBA. You can still bet a lot and be a recreational bettor, but I just don't make any. I don't claim that I win more than anybody else at basketball, or that you should listen to me. I just like to point out, 50-13 run to end the game. Significant. I enjoyed the slate last night. It was a rare winning basketball slate for me, and hopefully that continues to carry over to the rest of the playoffs. But baseball news is what you're here for. Some things that have stood out to me the last couple days. The Mets relievers have thrown 17 consecutive scoreless innings. When you throw that in with how their pitching staff has performed without Jacob deGrom, very impressed by the pitching analytics and the pitching people that have been hired by the new regime in Queens. They've definitely pushed the Mets into serious contender status with the moves they've made. And truthfully, if you're like me and you think that the Dodgers are just head and shoulders above everybody else in baseball, I think the team they have to be most concerned about is the Mets, because assuming a healthy deGrom and Scherzer, that rotation, that bullpen is probably the best team to match up against the Dodgers' buzzsaw offense and could beat them over a 7-game series. So good job with what the Mets have been doing. I've been impressed with them to start the season. Another New York team, though, that I have not been impressed with would be the Yankees. They've been shut out 3 of their first 13 games for only the second time in franchise history. The other time being 1912 at the height of the dead ball era. The thing with the Yankees is they've invested a lot of money in Stanton, Judge, Joey Gallo, Rizzo, etc. This team's going to go as far as those bats are going to carry them, and when they're cold, they're not going to win. So, Yankees, not a ton to be concerned about, but the way that team's constructed, it's feast or famine, and when your high-priced guys aren't performing, then you can't expect the rest of the team to pick it up and carry your big contract guys. Baltimore Orioles, they've scored just 61 runs over their first 12 games, 12 straight unders before finally having a game go over in a 6-3 loss to the A's on Thursday. The run had to eventually end, and it finally did. But there's a lot of positive things going on with Baltimore with their pitching staff, the way they're teaching their pitchers how to pitch. Coming up in the minors, there's definitely some optimism around the corner in Baltimore, but they're just not there yet. They're close. They're just not, totally all the way there yet. But obviously, the big story to talk about this week, the thing I'm most excited to talk about, and I've promised before, and I will keep this promise, that not every podcast just going to turn into me talking about Shohei Ohtani for no reason, but this week we have a very good reason for bringing him up and talking about him. After a slightly slow start to start the season, if you're talking about 3 hits and 21 at bats being a relatively slow start. Ohtani currently leads the AL in plate appearances, at-bats, strikeouts as a pitcher, strikeouts per 9 inning, and fielding independent pitching. His performance this week against the Astros was described by one of the Angels' assistant general managers as an absolute masterpiece. Assistant general manager Alex Tammon said, it was a privilege to watch what he did: a double, a walk, a bunt single, double plus slider, double plus split, broke out a double plus curveball. That's plus curveball is what he means. It was dotting 98. It was truly a privilege. Yes, it was. I actually watched that game. I don't watch every at bat, every inning of Ohtani, but I did tune into this one because there was a perfect game alert after a couple innings. He struck out the sides twice, back-to-back innings. 12 strikeouts over 6 innings with a walk and a hit. He actually batted twice in the first inning before even taking the mound. I would definitely check out and recommend checking out Ben Clemens' article in Fangraphs this week about how Ohtani is just getting better this year. He goes into a lot more detail than I'm going to go into in a shorter podcast. But you've already heard most of the stuff I'm going to say. Ohtani's done doing stuff and continues to do stuff that nobody else has come close to doing in modern history. Every game there's some sort of new thing that Ohtani's done that was just some sort of unheard of thing. For example, against the Astros, he bunted for a hit in the 6th inning while throwing a perfect game. I'm pretty sure that's the first pitcher in history to do that. Like I said, he batted twice in the first inning before even pitching. So I love Vlad, and Jose Ramirez is having a good season, and there's Mike Trout and Wander Franco and a lot of good players in the AL. But Ohtani's the MVP again if he stays healthy, and that's really all it comes down to. Is if he stays healthy, he's gonna win the MVP because just listen to everything I just said again if you have to. The question is if he's gonna win the Cy Young and the MVP this year. I thought he had a good chance to do it last year, and he ended up faltering a little bit down the stretch. He had a bad start versus the Yankees. That probably killed his Cy Young chances last year. But I think it's a massive sort of pricing error at this point that he's still double digits in the Cy Young race. 15 to 1's out there, probably egregious at this point. Westgate's kind of got it correct. I think he's down to 7 to 1 at Westgate, same price as Garrett Cole. I absolutely wouldn't have him 50% or even double the price of Garrett Cole at the moment. But when you look at the Cy Young field, remember, it's only pitching stats. He's actually having a better season as a pitcher than a hitter so far. Sans that single grand slam he gave up. I think he really made up for it with his performance against the Astros. But he's leading the AL in strikeouts. He's second in MLB in strikeouts. He's got that massive K-9. He spent the offseason learning a new slider, I believe, at Driveline. He brought Max Stassi to Driveline. I never know if it's Stassi or Stassi. Stassi's the East German secret police. I think it's Stassi. He brought his own catcher to Driveline to work out and train with him, and now he's got a plus framing catcher in Anaheim. So there's so many things going for him on the pitching side this year that he just didn't have last year. He's really hit another gear as a pitcher so far. Taking aside that bad couple innings in Texas and Arlington where he had some bad batted ball luck. I watched that too. So really just when you put everything in context, it's, to me, I don't understand how you can get a Cy Young price that's 2 or 3 times or even 4 times higher than his MVP price right now. I think it's mostly because there's just no precedent for pricing Ohtani. But like normally, if you had DeGrom, for example, DeGrom would be like, in this market, he'd probably be like 2 to 1 or something. But, you have DeGrom, like, let's just call it 4 to 1 in the Cy Young market after a couple starts, probably lower than that. But DeGrom would be like 4 to 1, 3 to 1 in the Cy market. Maybe he's going to be 20 to 1, 30 to 1, 40 to 1, whatever price you want to give him in the MVP market. His MVP price is going to be higher than his Cy Young price. With Ohtani, it's reversed. His MVP price is so much shorter his Cy price, but with his pitching stats being what they are right now, I think that's just total mispricing. And if I was doing it, I would probably have Ohtani's Cy price relatively close to his MVP number, because at the moment I don't see how he'd win the MVP and not finish in the top 3 in the Cy Young if obviously we're talking about 12 games. So I really don't put too much stock into 12, 15, 10 games, whatever, unless it supports my narrative, of course. Then I'm absolutely gonna try to fit it in. But I just think that the Ohtani Cy prices at this point are totally out of alignment with what they should be based on his MVP number, where he should be the favorite everywhere. And again, having him priced equally with Vlad, still kind of incorrect. And I understand a lot of books really love Vlad, and I don't know what their exposure looks like, but you should be trying to get money on Vlad, because until Vlad learns how to pitch, until he throws a 98-mile-an-hour splitter, he's gonna keep finishing second to Ohtani, provided health and all things being equal health-wise. So that's my Ohtani update for the day, for the week. He should be the favorite for the MVP, should be one of the favorites for the Cy Young. I certainly don't understand how you would have Dylan Cease ahead of him. In fact, if I was booking this, I'd be trying to get money on some of these other guys. I think Verlander is actually one of his biggest one of the other big contenders in the AL Cy race. I'm down on Bieber, down on Cole. We'll talk about that more in a couple minutes. I'm going to go through some of the odds for you. But yeah, other news around MLB. Wander Franco's tied for the MLB lead in hits. He has 20 hits, 7 multi-hit games, 4 3-hit games, 7 doubles. In 53 plate appearances, he's struck out only 4 times. The only thing missing from his game right now is, power. He's not 100% there with the power yet, but it will come over time. He's still younger than the Bobby Witt and Julio Rodriguez crowd, and he could be a rookie again. And if he was a rookie, he'd probably be the favorite for Rookie of the Year. Absolutely, he'd be the favorite for Rookie of the Year with those numbers. He would I'd probably make him like minus 200 over the field, putting up those numbers if he was rookie eligible this year. But Cody Bellinger, another guy, he's tied for second in the MLB with 6 multi-hit games, former MVP. He might be turning the corner. Keep an eye out there. It's not often you get a former MVP still in the prime of his career at 100-1 odds. Freddie Freeman has joined the Dodgers and is definitely one of the big reasons why Cody Bellinger is likely not to win another MVP. But, with the numbers some of these Dodgers hitters are putting up, it really only takes a couple hot weeks to push someone to the forefront. And Bellinger's guy, just keep my eye on if anything happens. Bobby Whit Jr., another guy to talk about. He's about probably 3-4 weeks away. If he doesn't turn around things offensively, he will find himself back at AAA. It's just that's how the game works, and he's still a can't-miss prospect, but you really got to actually do something to stick at the major league level, or you will be replaced. Same goes for Julio Rodriguez. Not exactly sure what the plan is with him. He's only played about 40 games above A ball, but he's now struck out 22 times in 44 major league at-bats. Slightly concerning, but if you've watched the games, you watched most of the at-bats like I have, you see that he's actually still maintaining elite plate discipline, and he's gotten some bad calls his way. And I see it. A lot of the people I follow on Twitter see it, baseball people. And if we're all seeing it, the Mariners probably see it as well with their internal analytics. I'm not necessarily sure that a trip to AAA is going to change anything for Rodriguez with his plate discipline being what it is. And I have opinions about shuttling guys back and forth when unnecessary. But a couple losses could accelerate the trip to AAA if the Mariners have a bad stretch. But I do think he has a little more time to turn it around, and the strikeouts are concerning. But when you put them in context to some of the calls he's been getting, not as concerned going forward. The NL MVP race is pretty interesting to start. I think Westgate's done a really good job keeping their numbers updated. Nolan Arenado's become one of the early favorites, currently batting .405 with a 1.349 OPS through 47 plate appearances. Again, where 47 plate appearances is not a lot to really be able to draw conclusions from, but 4 players in the NL right now with a Baseball Reference WAR of at least 1 or higher: Suzuki, Arenado, and Francisco Lindor, all at 1. Manny Machado at 1.4. He was actually one of my preseason MVP bets. 30-1 for Machado. There's actually still a lot of 30-1s out there, some 25-1s. I think it's a pretty good bet. The Padres are still likely going to finish behind the Dodgers, but a 28-year-old Manny Machado is definitely a guy that is on my my radar, and his performance early has definitely justified him early consideration in the NL MVP race. The AL Rookie of the Year race is probably the most interesting race overall to me right now. There's 10 contenders or so in this field, some that haven't even been called up yet. But this is a really packed field, and you got the Bobby Witt and J-Rod up at the top, risk being sent down. Spencer Torkelson, I think he started 0 for 10 and is batting like 400 since. He's definitely got some potential. Just because he's not hitting home runs doesn't mean he's not playing well. There's Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan pitched 6 innings, 2 hits, 0 runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts against the Royals. He's currently got a 1.69 ERA, a .88 WHIP, and hitters are batting .167, a 167 average against Joe Ryan in his last 3 starts. He's another contender in a stacked field. Still some 18s or 15s on Joe Ryan. I personally haven't bet him, but definitely a guy who deserves some consideration, and I'll go through those numbers, like I said, in a bit. Then there's the NL Rookie of the Year. Nolan Gorman on the Cardinals has hit 5 home runs in 5 consecutive games at AAA Memphis. He is striking out close to 40% of the time, so a call-up might not be imminent, but could see him by June 1st, and he is 50-1. If you think Suzuki is not a lock, that's a guy I would definitely start to pay more attention to. And then there's Max Meyer. I mentioned him before. He his last start at AAA for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, he threw 5.2 innings, 3 hits, 0 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. I'd say at this point he's less than a month away. The Marlins have a pretty good pitching staff. They got some, Alcantara, Pablo Lopez doing some big things so far. But here's a dude that they probably shouldn't waste very many more innings in AAA on. He's a guy, if you can get a 80-1 or a 70-1, I'd much rather have a big number on Max Meyer than a short number on Hunter Green. Like I said, last couple pods, the way to play Hunter Green is to bet his strikeout overs and alt overs on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to trying to play him at a short Rookie of the Year number where he's going to have an innings limit, and he still has a home run problem and a 4+ ERA. That didn't stop me from betting on the Reds today. I think I bet like plus 110. I don't know what prices are out there at the moment. I haven't had a chance to look since I started recording stuff this morning. The AL Cy Young field, Logan Gilbert has started to make a move up. He's the second pitcher in AL history to strike out 15+ batters while allowing no more than 1 walk and 1 earned run over his first 3 starts of the season. The other was Roger Clemens in 1991 on the Red Sox. Gilbert leads MLB right now in ERA at .45. Remember, this is a total of 16.2 innings, so there's still a lot of stuff to change here. But I'm going to take a break real quick, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to go through some various odds available at different sports books that I think are good bets still out there, mostly stuff that I've actually bet and the numbers are still available. So take a break real quick, come back, and we're going to get into some bets that you can make. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back, Wide World of Weingarten. The second half of this show, going to get into a whole lot of betting stuff, things I bet that you can bet where numbers are still available. The first thing I want to go over is the home run market, the home run leader. Using the Westgate numbers, they got Vlad at 3-1 as the favorite. I don't think there's a ton of value, if any, on that. I do agree Vlad is going to be the guy to beat in this market. But we will find the guys to potentially beat him with. Pete Alonso, 10-1, doesn't do it for me. Yordan Alvarez, 16-1, not terrible. I bet 20, 30, 40, so I have some bigger numbers on Yordan. He's one of my favorite players. 16's not bad. I think 16 compared to Vlad and Pete Alonso, probably decent still when you consider Yordan Alvarez is number 1 in MLB in average exit velocity at 99.3 miles an hour. He's also first in the AL at with the highest hard hit percent. So I like Yordan at the available numbers over the other favorites, Vlad being the only one under 10-1. And then a little farther down, I'm not very much into Ohtani at 30-1. I think he's kind of a homer bet. Like if I was really just betting unlimited money, I would bet Ohtani. Where I think there's still some value is Salvador Perez at 50. Last year's co-leader, currently one off the pace at the moment, I believe. 50-1, it's like he gets no respect. They're saying he can't do it again. I bet some Salvador Perez. I think got like 85, 75 or something before the season, but 50 is not bad. Ozzy Albies, another guy I would just keep an eye on. I'm not really interested in him. He doesn't fit my profile of what I'd consider a power hitter, but leading off, playing at the top of that Braves lineup, he already has 4 home runs, 80-1, big price on him. Then Juan Soto, 40-1, gets no respect. Best hitter in baseball. You can always go on a little bit of a power binge. So 40-1 there. Those are some numbers that I would be interested in if I had unlimited bankroll for these markets. Then I use the Westgate numbers to show you what numbers are not as adjusted at other books, because I think Westgate does the best job on a day-to-day basis of repricing. So in the NL MVP market, they have Freddie Freeman as a co-favorite with Juan Soto both at 6-1. Francisco Lindor and Arenado behind them at 8. Acuna yet to make his season debut, also 8. Last year's MVP Bryce Harper, 10-1. Beyond that, you got Betts, Turner, both 16. And the thing with the Dodgers, you got Freeman at 6, Betts at 16, Turner at 16. Max Muncy's in there somewhere. I think at 60, and Cody Bellinger's also in there at 60. The problem with the Dodgers is they have so many MVP candidates that they're kind of going to cannibalize each other's votes potentially. Manny Machado, 25. I think that's pretty good. CJ Cron, they dropped to 25. There's no value left at Cron at 25. There was probably some at 500, 400, 300, etc. Not at 25. I'd much rather have Manny Machado at 25-1. Or if there's some 30-1s out there, I'd much rather have that. Much beyond the 30-1 tier, Austin Riley and Matt Olson, both 30-1. Beyond that, I wouldn't really get into any more long shots on these guys. In the AL, they finally dropped Ohtani back to 7-2 from a high of 6-1. They have Ohtani and Vlad as 7-2 co-favorites. I don't necessarily disagree with having them as co-favorites. If I was booking it, though, I'd probably put Vlad a little bit higher, just as a way to try to entice some bets on him. From my standpoint, I think Ohtani is likely going to win this award, so I want to be booking money on some of these other guys. I'd probably raise the prices. Jose Ramirez, third favorite at 5-1. His value has dropped precipitously from his preseason numbers. Trout, kind of dead money at 8-1. He has the problem that he plays with Shohei Ohtani, so there's no dispute that Trout's still one of the best, if not the best player in baseball, but you're going to need to give me a bigger number, especially with the amount of time Trout continues to miss for one reason or another in the lineup. And then there's Wander Franco. MLB leader in hits. Westgate has preemptively dropped him to 8-1, as you'll see when I go through some of these other books. The numbers are higher at different places. And that's always something to keep an eye on. But all these guys, the Vlads, Jose Ramirez, Wander Francos, you're just fading Shohei Ohtani. So even if I can get some really good numbers there, and I know I can get some really good numbers at other books, I'm not super interested in fading my Ohtani position. I'm just cutting into my own numbers. In the NL Cy market, this is still at Westgate. They have Corbin Burns, Max Scherzer, co-favorites at 5-1. I don't really have a fundamental problem with that. The next tier, they have Carlos Rodon, Logan Webb, and Walker Buehler, first two being teammates, all at 10-1. Some concerning loss of spin rate and velocity for Walker Buehler. But, he's good. I don't dispute any of these numbers. And then you get a little farther down. You got Brandon Woodruff 12-1, Max Fried 18, Clayton Kershaw 20. Kershaw definitely has some potential. Sandy Alcantara also 20-1. There's a very live arm that I like. And then you get sort of the next 6-7 guys are all kind of dead money to me. Aaron Nola 25-1, Chris Bassett 30, Musgrove 30, Julio Urias 30. Has some potential, but same thing, some concerning numbers. Early fastball velocity down. Let's see how he pitches tonight versus Padres. I have some money on him. I have a lot of money on him actually. So I'm hoping Urias can get some consideration this year. He got no consideration winning 20 games last season. Wheeler does not look good this season. He looks like he's had some lack of fastball velocity. Freddie Peralta and Kyle Wright, both 40-1. I have no interest in. Then there's DeGrom, 50-1. I think that's still double the price it should be. I don't see any situation where Chris Bassett finishes ahead of a relatively healthy DeGrom in the Cy Young voting. So DeGrom at 50, I already bet it, so I bet it at 100 personally. At 50 still, I think he should be at 25. I'd put him ahead of Aaron Nola. Would not put him ahead of Alcantara and Kershaw at the moment, but I don't see any reason why he would finish behind any of these guys unless he absolutely doesn't pitch or pitches poorly. In the AL Cy Young race, you got Shane Bieber, 9-2 favorite. Again, concerning numbers with his spin rate and fastball velocity being down, but he's pitched pretty well so far, so really gotta see what happens there, but some regression would not surprise me. Dylan Cease 6-1, Justin Verlander both 6-1. Don't necessarily disagree with those. Cease did not look great in his last start. Verlander has looked lights out in his. Then you got Garrett Cole and Ohtani both 7-1. I would probably have Ohtani. I think 7's reasonable if you don't want to take more money on him. 6, 7, 8 is a reasonable number for Ohtani. I'd probably push Cole out to about 11-1 myself. Then Shane McClanahan 14, Noah Syndergaard 16, Logan Gilbert 18. Those are three guys. My other three guys I bet. I got McClanahan at 30 and 40. Syndergaard, I got like 66, 70, 100. I got a lot on Syndergaard. And Logan Gilbert, I just recently bet, I think, at 35-1, just because I saw how well he had been pitching. But, when you look at this field, I think Verlander is a serious contender. I think Cease and Cole are not going to be real contenders, but they'll be in the picture. Ohtani, McClanahan are legitimate contenders. Syndergaard, the problem with Syndergaard is he pitches on the same team as Ohtani, so it's highly unlikely that he's going to pass Ohtani without an injury. Logan Gilbert's numbers are great. Surprisingly, Westgate has Gilbert ahead of Robbie Ray, who they've dropped to 30. Robbie Ray 30-1. I don't know if he's going to win back-to-back Cy Youngs, but got to keep an eye on that number. That's definitely, if I had to guess, the 30-1 is the best number in the market for Robbie Ray. But yeah, Logan Gilbert, according to the Westgate, is ahead of Ray on their early adjusted Cy Young odds. Getting into the Rookie of the Year markets, some of my favorite. Bobby Witt's 4-1. Torkelson is 9-2. And then Jeremy Pena and Julio Rodriguez are both 7-1. Joe Ryan 10-1. Those are all the guys 10-1 or less. Jeremy Pena, definitely a guy I've talked about a couple times. He's dropped from, I think he was 25-1, went 25, 14, 7. Starting shortstop, playing every day in Houston with Whit and J-Rod not doing anything, and Torkelson starting to do things. It's not unreasonable to think that Pena deserves to be in that same sort of category of dudes at the top. Joe Ryan also has earned a spot at the top, although I just personally don't see him winning over a lot of these other guys. Steve Kwan, same thing, 12-1. I think he was a good bet at 100-1 or 60-1. I don't think he's a good bet at 12-1. Too many other guys in this field that are serious contenders. Adley Rutschman hasn't even come up yet. He's 16-1. Josh Lowe had a triple. He's everyday starting outfielder for Tampa. He's 18-1. And then you get a tier of pitchers here. You got Reed Detmers, Grayson Rodriguez, and Matt Brash. Reed Detmers starter tonight for the Angels, 20-1. Grayson Rodriguez hasn't been called up yet. Baltimore, his call-up should be imminent next couple weeks. He's 25-1. Matt Brash, pitching pretty well for the Mariners, also 25-1. Then Riley Green's had a broken foot. He's 25-1. Shane Baz, I don't think he's a contender. 25-1. I would drop that number significantly. And then Tristan Casas, the first base DH for the Red Sox, who should be called up sooner than later, is 25-1. Interesting guy there. I bet him at a bigger number. I'll tell you where to find some bigger numbers on him in a moment. The NL race got Saya Suzuki plus 120 at Westgate. You get a situation with these Japanese players where they come and either they're really good and they kind of outpace everybody quickly, or they're dead money. And in this case, I think Suzuki is probably the guy to beat in the NL Rookie of the Year, and there are dudes who can beat him. At 8-1, you got C.J. Abrams, Hunter Green, and O'Neal Cruz. I think I saw Hunter Green down to 4-1, now up to 8-1. I think Westgate kind of understands what I understand, that he's not going to get the innings, and he has a 4 ERA, so I like Hunter Green, but I think the way to play him is strikeouts on a game-to-game basis. C.J. Abrams and O'Neal Cruz. Abrams hasn't done a ton so far, but it's early. O'Neal Cruz hasn't been called up. He can light the world on fire. Bryson Stott not playing great. I don't really have much of an opinion there. Then there's Mackenzie Gore, 16-1. Similar situation to Hunter Green, except he's pitching on a potential playoff team. He could definitely get some hype and stay in contention. I'd be surprised if he won, though. Joey Bart, catcher, playing every day in San Francisco, deserves some consideration. 25-1 is down to 18-1. And then there's Nolan Gorman. Westgate thinks he's down to 30-1. He hasn't even started yet, so he hasn't even made it to MLB yet, and they've already dropped his number. Guy to keep an eye on. I know some other books have higher than 30, so we'll definitely talk about that in a minute. And then Max Meyer, 40-1. I bet that 100, 80, 70, whatever. I think we could find some better numbers than 40 out there, but he's definitely a guy with potential. Then there's Mickey Moniak, 100-1. He was probably going to be the starting center fielder before he broke his hand for the Phillies, so keep an eye on him. If he comes back, I would definitely maybe get some 100-1. But Saya Suzuki, I always say his name wrong, is the guy that I think you're going to have to beat in the NL race. So I did all that. I was talking about Westgate so I could tell you about, a book like FanDuel. So let's jump over to FanDuel real quick, where they have Ohtani plus 260 to win the MVP, Vlad plus 360, and nobody else below 10-1. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I would probably do 2 and 4 on Ohtani and Guerrero myself. I want money on Guerrero. I don't want money on Ohtani if I'm booking this. Trout at 12-1, that's a good number. At least you're going to get some action on it, hopefully. Jose Ramirez, 13-1. He's down to 5-1 at Westgate. That's sort of just the thing I like to point out. If you like Jose Ramirez, 5-1, 13-1, you got to shop around. Luis Robert, 16-1. I think that's dead money. Buxton, 20-1, dead money. Wander Franco, 25-1. So another price difference. If you like Franco, don't bet it at Westgate. Bet it somewhere that's going to give you 25-1, like FanDuel, assuming you could bet more than pennies there, which I can't. NL MVP. The NL MVP market, they got Soto 4-1, Acuna, who hasn't even played yet, 7.5-1. I don't know if I agree with that. Lindor 10, Arenado 16. If you like 16, if you like Arenado, that's double the price at Westgate. Freddie Freeman 16, same thing. He's 6-1 at Westgate, getting some value there. Manny Machado still 30. Fernando Tatis, I would not bet Fernando Tatis at 35-1. I would bet him at 100-1 potentially. But yeah, I don't see much there. I see Cody Bellinger 100-1 if you wanted a guy in the 100-1 range, and then CJ Cron 100-1 if you like him. Don't bet 25-1 at Westgate. Hold out and find 100-1 at FanDuel. FanDuel Cy Young market, let's see, they got Scherzer 6-1, Burns 7-1, Rodon 10. They got Logan Webb a little higher than the Westgate has him. I think he's a contender. Alcantara 25, Urias 35. They got DeGrom 35, same price as Bassett. That's reasonable. Not much to say about these NL Cy numbers. More interested in their AL Cy market. They got Bieber 6-1, Verlander 7.5. They dropped Cease to 10. Ohtani and Cole both 12. McClanahan 15. Robbie Ray 18. I think they still have a big number. Logan Gilbert they're down to 30-1. Luis Severino also 30-1 here. If you like Gilbert 30-1, I think it was 35-1. But that's a noticeable price difference with the Westgate so far. I think that's probably one of the better ones. Gilbert 30-1, but Ohtani over at 12-1, still value there. I think I'd put him closer to Verlander than at the same number as Cole. Then we get into the Rookie of the Year numbers here, where they have some similar opinions, but Bobby Witt still plus 310, Torkelson plus 410, Quan 650, that's too high. J-Rod 7, I don't know if I'd get back in at 7, but I'm not gonna give up on him. Jeremy Pena 8.5-1, that's a little bit of value there. Joe Ryan 18, I think you get a little bit of value there as well. Then getting farther down in the weeds here in these numbers, they got Tristan Casa 60-1. Westgate's already dropped him to 25. I think 60 is rather high. Grayson Rodriguez 65-1. There's definitely some value there. Reed Detmers 85-1. He's the starting pitcher for the Angels tonight. I don't know how you get 85-1 when Shane Baz is 40-1 and is nowhere near ready to pitch or contribute. I think that's dead money. That price is wrong. Reed Detmer's 85-1, definitely worth a bet if you have access to FanDuel. And then Christian Pache, 100-1 outfielder on the A's. He's going to have to raise his average significantly to get serious consideration, but he's definitely playing better than 100-1 right now. Especially compared to some of these other outfielders like Julio Rodriguez, who's priced at 7. So definitely some value still in the AL market at FanDuel. In the NL market, Suzuki plus 140, Hunter Green plus 450, those prices or whatever. CJ Abrams up to 16-1. I would definitely bet some more on that, playing more often than not in San Diego. Mackenzie Gore 25-1, that's a decent price. Nolan Gorman 50-1, that's a very good price. Max Meyer 70-1, also a very good price. Those are the names that stand out on FanDuel's odds. And then I'll do one more. I'm going to do DraftKings real quick, just tell you how DraftKings has adjusted their numbers. DraftKings has made Shohei Ohtani plus 260, Vlad plus 350. I don't fundamentally, like I said, disagree with much of that. Nothing really stands out farther down the AL MVP list here for me. All just repeating stuff I said. Freddie Freeman 16-1 stands out, still a good number there. Manny Machado at 30, good number. Beyond that, nothing I'm digging very deep for in the MVP markets here. They do have Cody Bellinger 100-1. If that interests you, I don't think it's worth a ton of money, but I have pointed that out a couple times. In the AL Cy Young, Bieber's the favorite, Cease the second, Verlander 9-1, not terrible. Ohtani's still 15. I think 15 is probably where I think the not the cutoff for the value is probably 15, maybe 12, but still a lot of value at 15. I don't think he should be behind Dylan Cease. I think this is probably double the price what it should be based on where they have some of these other guys. And then Robbie Ray, they got 12. If you like Robbie Ray, that Westgate number at 30 is definitely compelling. And then Logan Gilbert 30-1 here, that's too high. Beyond that, I wouldn't get too far into the weeds on these other numbers. Then the Rookie of the Year, Suzuki's the favorite. They have not adjusted Green. I think Green is not plus 450. I think he's at least double that. CJ Abrams, double digits, 12-1. Not as good as the FanDuel price, still decent. Nolan Gorman, 50-1. Max Meyer, 70-1. Same thing. Those are good numbers. Guys haven't started yet. Then in the AL race, Jeremy Pena 9-1, Joe Ryan 18-1. Those numbers haven't been adjusted yet. Tristan Casas 60, Grayson Rodriguez 60, Dalton Jeffries 60, Reed Detmers 70, Christian Pache 100. Those numbers all haven't been adjusted. Not necessarily going to beat the top tier, but those numbers are all way higher than they should be. So that's my walk through the player markets this week. So now that you've heard that, I'm going to give you some bets for Friday. We talked about Hunter Green. There's the prop builder and the alternate strikeout props. On the overs, you could take adjusted numbers. Using the prop builder numbers, I was able to get 7 over 7 at plus 118, 8 at plus 237, 9 at plus 484. I didn't play over 10 at 994, 11 at 26-1. I stopped at 9, so I did 7, 8, and 9 on the alt overs. Maybe I'll go back and play 10. I kind of like getting almost 10-1 on 10 strikeouts, but I don't think that's. I think 9 is a more reasonable cutoff. You're still happy getting plus 484 there. First innings, I bet 1, 2, 3. I think I bet 8. Yeah, is that 8? 9. Okay, I bet 9. Cardinals, Reds, yes score first inning plus 120. Giants, Nats, yes score even money plus 100. Marlins, Braves, yes even money. Indians, Yankees, yes minus 105. Rays, Red Sox, yes plus 110. Jays, Astros, yes even money. White Sox, Twins, yes plus 115. Rockies, Tigers, yes, plus 110. Remember, if the numbers are off, if they're off more than 5 cents, don't play them. You probably shouldn't even play them if they're off 5 cents. These are the numbers. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 8. I guess I got 8 here. I don't know if I'm counting correctly or not. But, yeah, first innings, price dependent. Don't play them at worse numbers. 3 hits, runs, errors. I bet Reds, Cardinals, hits, runs, errors under 24.5 minus 110. Brewers, Phillies under 24.5 minus 110. Yankees, Guardians under 26.5 minus 120. And for sides, I bet one side. It's the Angels minus 180 versus Baltimore. So that's my card for today. I think that's a decent amount of stuff. Hopefully you got some actionable information out of the Cy Young and player future talks. I think there's a lot of value out there. Might have to consider getting some of that Robbie Ray at 30-1, but yeah, there's some good numbers. Freddie Freeman being one of the other ones, Manny Machado, and then obviously Ohtani because he's probably going to win 1 if not 2 awards. So that's my show for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Be back with more tomorrow. Probably going to do some weekend episodes this week. So stay tuned. Thank you for listening. I'll be back tomorrow probably.